Now, the first step to being highly influential is enhancing your observational skills. Knowing what to look for can give you brand new insights into the state of mind of everybody else. And so today's video lesson is on observational skills, specifically a little bit about body language. Body language is a language that we all speak, but very few know how to interpret. And usually when people try to interpret one language to another language, a few things get lost in translation, like this, or this, or this. When it comes to reading body language, you want to be sure that you know what you're reading and what it really means. So today's lesson on body language is going to focus on the most honest part of the body. It's not the face. We actually learn how to lie with a straight face at a very young age.
Did you play with any markers?
No.
Did you use the color green?
No.
So you didn't write anything with the green marker?
No, I did paper.
Oh, you did it on the paper?
Yeah.
Okay. You only used the paper?
Yes.
You promise?
Yes.
Say, I promise, Mom.
Mommy, Mom.
Okay.
So, where is the most honest part of the body? It's your feet. That's right, folks. Your cover can be blown by these two little tattletales. First, let me explain why the feet are so annoyingly honest. Our survival is dependent upon our feet. Now let me explain. Let's pretend that you're a sweet, innocent little zebra, minding your own business, walking along on the grassy plains of Africa. And one day you decide to break away from the herd and get a drink of water in a nearby stream. Simple, right? So you go to the stream and you're lapping up the water, having a great time. And then all of a sudden, in the corner of your eye, you see a lion. What's the first thing that you do? You freeze. You become very, very still because you don't want to draw the attention of the lion. Let's just say that that technique doesn't work, and the lion starts to slowly walk towards you, and you know that now he's coming after you. So what do you do now? You flee. You start running as fast as you can to get away from the lion. Let's just say on this fateful day, he catches up to you. What do you do next? You try to fight your way out of it, right? You're kicking, and let's just say this in the story that you did a really good job and got away from the lion. This primal survival process is known as freeze, flight, and fight. Our feet are highly connected to the primal part of our brain known as the limbic system. This three-stage process of freeze, flight, and fight are actually how we are hardwired to deal with extreme stressors. Now, you may be thinking, okay, Shari, thanks for that National Geographic lesson. I now understand how a zebra functions in Africa, but what does this have to do with my life and my business? Because our feet are connected to the primal part of our brain, it means that we actually have less filters placed on the action of our feet. For example, have you ever seen somebody giving a speech and they're so nervous that they just freeze into place and look like a deer in the headlights? Their feet are reacting to the extreme stress of public speaking. And in those situations, the person is reacting in the very first stage, which is to freeze. Or have you seen somebody deliver a speech where they keep pacing back and forth on the platform and never really stopping to stay in one place? They just keep talking and moving and talking and moving. Their feet are reacting to the stress of public speaking. The other one of my favorites is what I call the happy feet. This is where one person stays in place, but their feet still keep moving around. They're tapping back and forth. They rock back and forth on their feet. It's the same thing. In these situations, the speaker knows that they are nervous and scared about public speaking, and the feet are reacting to the situation. The person knows that they can't actually flee the scene without severe consequences to their career. But the feet are still sending the message of, I'm nervous, I'm scared, get me out of here. Also, another interesting fact about the feet can actually tell you who or what another person is interested in. Many studies have shown that people will point their feet in the direction of somebody that they're in rapport with or where they would rather be. So, one way you can determine if you are in rapport with somebody is to pay attention and see if their feet are pointed towards you, or if they're bored, distracted, or want to be somewhere else, then their feet are actually going to subconsciously start pointing towards the door. Observing the feet while somebody is seated is a little bit different. You obviously don't want to be looking underneath the table to see what their feet are doing, but you can still pick up on some signs. So there are actually two different types of people when it comes to the feet and when they're seated. There are the fidgety feet people and the still-footed people. So what you're looking for here isn't necessarily the fact if they're constantly fidgeting or if their feet are still, but rather you're going to focus your awareness, turn up your observation to when one shifts to the other. So you're going to look for that significant shift. What I mean by that is if you're talking to somebody who's fidgeting their feet underneath the table, shaking and tapping or moving their feet around a lot, if all of a sudden that stops and they become very still, then that means a significant shift has happened in the conversation. Same with if you're dealing with somebody who's very still with their feet, but then all of a sudden their feet start to shake and tap underneath the table, then another significant shift has happened. Now, it's not to say if it's a good shift or a bad shift, but it's information that needs more investigation on your part. It just depends on the situation, the circumstances, the dynamics, the relationship, or what was just said before that significant shift happened. Lastly, the feet can be very helpful when it comes to networking situations. The feet can actually help you determine the relationship dynamic between two people, as well as help you identify the most powerful person in the room. Like I mentioned before, you can tell if somebody is in rapport with another individual if their feet are pointed towards that other person, and they're not exactly in rapport if the feet are pointed away from that person. This is actually a really fun game to play at networking events or different gatherings, is if you're not really in the mood to be talking to anybody at that particular moment, just take a moment to glance at everybody's feet and you'll be playing the game, who is actually enjoying the conversation? And you can tell who is engaged with the person that they're talking to, or if they're interested in a different person or want to leave if their feet are pointed towards the door. It's so much fun. You can also use your observational awareness about people's feet to determine the most important person in the room. So, for example, I was at a networking event once and wasn't really too chatty at that particular moment, and was observing other people and observing people's feet. And there was one group of individuals who were all talking to one another, and they had a sort of a circle formation so everybody could see one another and chat. Everybody in the group was just dressed to the nines. I mean, well-tailored suits, very fine dresses. I mean, just very highly successful business people, you could tell just by looking at them. And in that group, there were the finely dressed people, and then one gentleman who was wearing a Hawaiian shirt and faded jeans. A little bit out of place. So you might at first glance think, wow, this guy doesn't really know that he was at this very powerful business networking event. He did not dress appropriately. He doesn't know what he's doing. But then at second glance, I noticed that everybody who was dressed so nice and sharp had their feet pointed towards the man in the Hawaiian shirt. Well, that's kind of interesting. So I did a little investigation and subtly asked around about who that guy was. Come to find out, he's a multi-millionaire and everybody was wanting his business. So you can learn a lot about somebody just by looking at them, but you have to look at the entire picture, the whole situation. And now that you know a little bit about how the feet play a role, you can perhaps pick up on a few signals you might have missed in the past. Now, here's your covert mission if you choose to accept it. Throughout the rest of this week, pay attention to people's feet. See what you can learn and what new signs you can pick up that you might have missed in the past. Are they in rapport with you, or are their feet pointed towards somebody else, or are they pointed towards the door? Remember to look for those significant shifts. If somebody's a fidgety foot person and all of a sudden they become very still, something has happened in the conversation. If they're a still-footed person and all of a sudden they start to fidget, something has happened in the conversation. It's up to you to determine if it's something good or something bad, and if you need to somehow readjust within the conversation to keep them engaged about what you're talking about. Take some notes about your observations. Doesn't have to be in depth or highly detailed. Just remember to write a few of your observations down, because we will more than likely talk about this in our training session. I look forward to seeing you then, and until then, stay connected.